Hi YouTube, how are ya? I'm doing all right. I thought I'd roll some cigarettes while I talk to you. I still got a lot of stuff to do around here, but and there might be some noise like chainsaw or whatever, and definitely my rolling machine will be making some noise, but I thought I'll kill two birds with one stone. Two things done at once, even though, yeah, I'm not much of a bird killer. Anyway, I don't like hunting. I've done it before, don't like it. But anyway, I was watching Professor Bachman and a young man named Nicholas talk about psychology. And this is something that I've considered too with neuroscientists mapping the human brain. And there's parts of the brain that they've just discovered that they didn't, I mean, you don't really know somebody's mind. I mean, you can speculate what somebody's thinking in there, but my concern with the mapping of the human mind and taking the emotional care out of the mind for the people and just mapping it like, okay, this is our studies and this is what your neurons do um, under a certain situation and that type of thing, that people would be like all painted with one brush in that area is what my concern is. Because say, okay, if they do a study on what most people believe is acceptable in life types of things, and they use a certain group of people to portray how all human beings feel on that one certain subject, then they would be entirely wrong. I may not be the majority, being the minority on how I feel on a certain subject, but um, some cultures, they have it legal to marry children, you know. That's not something I'm accepting of, but their brain patterns would show that that's acceptable in their culture, in their society. So my concerns with the emotional care, that it's getting less caring and more robotic and more less intimate, that you can't really care for a human's mind by one set pattern is what I'm saying. And everybody's so varying, you know. So I had that on my mind for, oh, about a year, um, listening to neuroscientists and stuff. And yeah, it is a science they consider. They consider psychology a pseudoscience, like barely even a study of it. But yet they consider neuroscience more of a tangible science and not a pseudoscience. I see that more as pseudo because just because it's like um, how if you have a headache and you touch your temple, or wait, let me see. If you touch right here, you have a headache. You can alleviate with acupressure. Um, I was doing that a long time ago when I was working as a physical therapist aide. I started doing, like, instead of acupuncture, doing acupressure on pressure points and different things on the body and finding out what's connected to what. So there's two different areas that will be firing neurons in your brain for different situations is what I'm saying. So it cannot be an exact science, you know. So anyway, and everybody is individual, and there's no way they could tell me how my mind works based on another person, you know. So, yeah, that's my concerns with all that. I think other people are feeling that way too, that the lack of the care is being taken out of everything. But back to what the agendas are, and I shared a video. I'm going to put a link in here to a friend's channel, Simon Osiris, and what he's talking about. He's through the years put out some phenomenal information. Plus, like a lot of us have, lost family along the way, and we're still speaking up, you know, just strong, you know. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna put the link to his channel, and his last video is prophecy is, let me see what it's called here in a moment, I think. Okay. Prophecy is going to change everything. Trust nothing they tell you. Well, yeah, that's true. So yeah, and he's got good information. Been watching him since, God dang, he was pretty dang young. He's getting a few gray hairs in there now, but yeah, which is a little comical for me to watch youngsters getting older, you know. So anyway, yeah, what we live through in our lives, it's amazing, really, what we actually make it through the things we've been through on this planet, isn't it? You know, or the times you know you've been saved by outside force, and I mean more than once. If it only happened one time, you could think, well, you know, that's kind of a coincidence, and some people don't believe in miracles, or you know, but that's not the case. And you know, I go back to my biggest, well, one of my biggest miracles was the birth of my first son. I was not supposed to have children. I was not able, is what they told me, because of scar tissue, because of abuse when I was a kid. So, okay. So my ex and I thought about having kids, but we were together for about 5.5 years, and decided to pray together for a child. And yeah, 9 months later, the day before Christmas, I gave birth to our son. Now, my first son, I have two. Now, you could say, well, that's just a coincidence. Is it? Yeah, okay, if you say so. But that's just one experience of, I mean, many years of no birth control and a prayer. Just all of a sudden, there I'm pregnant. That's just that, and then I knew about it too, right away. But definitively, on the fourth day, I knew. But because your body changes so drastically, I knew just right away, you know. So I'm not saying that's always the case, but in this extreme, it was. So anyway, yeah. Had some difficulties in between there and then, but yeah, some really weird things happened in my life. But I can't prove miracles are real, but I do believe them, And also, I may not be the only one, but I was wondering where this channel I used to watch, where he went. I mean, not really wondering where he went. I could sense things I know what his life has been like, but just wondering if he's okay, how he's faring through this baloney in the world and the rest of it with everything. It's like, yeah, you wonder when you care about people, you wonder how they're doing, so yeah. Anyway, but yeah, this is somebody that started reading into what the goings on in the world. I mean, all encompassing, not just one subject, but I mean like a plethora, and when you're if you could call it, into every single science in the world, any study of anything, that would be considered what true alchemy is. Some people think that alchemy is changing brass or whatever into gold. And others think that alchemy is changing your uh, flesh into spirit, and then it's all true. That's true, but the actual term is all encompassed science. It encompasses everything. I mean, mathematics, language, biology, human behavior, the science of baking, or whatever. Everything is a science in alchemy, So that's why you could see like wizards or scientists back in the day, sorcerers, whatever, honing in on different energies or that type of thing. But they might have failed because they didn't know as much as what they thought they did. It's just a thought, because there's a lot of sorcerers today that think that they're going to get their way with a lot of stuff that they're doing in our world. And it doesn't mean that they're going to actually succeed, because from what I can see, it seems like these controllers in the world start getting people right where they think they want to keep them, and then some kind of catastrophe happens, and those people are free for some reason or another. And I've seen it happen in history. I haven't seen it happen. Well, yeah. Okay, this is really weird. My camera just flipped off and the page flipped up. Okay, that's weird, and I didn't touch a thing. Okay, whatever. That was just odd. It's just like the other day I was reading and my page flipped up, and it's like, what are you doing? You know? But the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that these, whether we call them Satanists or the far, whichever category we want to put these people in, one of the biggest things they're doing, and I was watching, I think it's an Eye for an Eye channel, he's called now, talking about adult Happy Meals at McDonald's, and some silly toy 25 years ago that these kids would have got in their Happy Meals, and how adults are going to be getting Happy Meals. And this one woman, she's like, oh yeah, that's what I get when I go there. I get a Happy Meal, and somebody asked her for the toy or the size of the meal, and she said the size of the meal, but then started talking about this stupid toy that they're going to have in there. See, that's part of it, is making adults, like adults playing with toys, you know? I mean, like Eye for an Eye was saying, he could see and understand playing like a nostalgic game or something like that. But this isn't quite what's going on. It's the keeping adults where they don't have to be responsible adults, but with a childlike mind. And then Eye for an Eye brought up by 1 Corinthians, where when I was a child, I thought like a child, and now that he's a man, he thinks as a man, and left the childish ways behind him, whatever that, in Corinthians, which was really good point. But the point of it is, it has nothing to do with these stupid adults. It has to do with adulting children, you know, making it more acceptable in our society, because these are things these people have done anyway, in their rituals and different things, that they want to do it out in the public, out in the open. That's what they're doing. Everything that they're doing that is regressed is what they have done in private. Excuse me. Cheers, everybody. That they want to do in the open, where we can't do anything about it, you know. And that's precisely what's going on, you know. Ah, it did it again. Now, that's just weird. I'm going to flip over. I'm on YouTube, and now it just highlighted everything, but it flipped up. My camera flipped off. Let's see, I'm on Facebook. I'll see how that goes. And, oh yeah, now that's very odd, because now on my Facebook, what? My Facebook looked like, just a minute, it looked like it closed itself. It did. That's just as weird as can be. I'm clicking off this video I'm on. They somehow don't want me on there, or something. I don't know. No, this just flipped up too, and my camera flipped off. This is getting irritating. But anyway, I'm going to try to get back to my topic here. Talking about the kids and adulting them. That's a major big deal that's going to be going on in our world. A lot of easing into it has been going on, you know. And when you've been raised around that type of mindset, you can see the subtle things happening little by little. Or even if you haven't been raised around it, and you know the agendas, you know just what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it, you know. But I was thinking about something else there, and then that page flipped up. But I'll get back there. Now I know what I was going to say. At first, oh, I was over on Facebook and saw my friend had written, some things are better left alone. Like me, for instance. I shared it. Yeah. But that brings to mind the study of stoicism and keeping your cool and having control in different situations in our life and that type of thing. But something that goes along with that is the push for people not to um, have a voice in something if you have a disagreement or an argument with somebody, like a verbal, not yelling, but a disagreement, trying to make it where we don't have a right to have an opinion about things. But there was something else I was with this push for stoicism, like keeping silent about um, not just things that you're doing in your life, like your achievements, but more like you're not stoic if you were to have an altercation with somebody about something. Say if you knew something was harming other people and you saw it as clear as a bell, and you knew the people that were pushing it for their own reasons, and you also saw that clear as a bell, um, to even speak up against something that people are supporting and they have more backing behind who they support, because most of the world is really ill. And so if you have a real strong opinion about, say, not wanting these things to happen to kids, or not thinking a 5-year-old is old enough to choose his gender or hers, these strong opinions that we hold about or marrying babies and these types of things, they're gonna try and make it where we don't even have a voice or a right to rise against this weirdness that is going on in our world, you know, and it is sick, and they're trying to normalize the sick, and that's true, and that's what they've been doing for as long as I can remember, just in increments, and then you can see all the things that are written in how to take down civilizations and divide people and that type of thing. We all know the different types of things that they're actually doing, but the people that are helping them are actually doing this with them. It's not a separate thing. They're not separate. They are um, ran by the dark force of it all, you know. Not that they're forced to do what they're doing, because they're not forced. No, they're doing this on their own free will. Everybody has that um, choice within ourselves, so they know what they're doing. Ultimately, they know not what they do, because it's if you always had something bad and then something good came along, you would be really aware of that. But if you never had the good and you only had the bad and you had to work within those perimeters, that's what they're working in. According to Christ, that's what he can go into their heart and help heal that. And I do believe that a lot of that is going on. I also believe that there are ones on this planet that are demonic and not in an angelic way. Um, and that's who they are. They're Satan's very own kids, you know. Doesn't mean that their hearts can't change. It doesn't mean they weren't even born with a good heart. I know people that were born into hellacious families and they're nothing like the rest of their family, you know. So that happens. But, yeah. But there's some real evil people out there, and it's hard if you don't have that in you. It's hard to believe it's real because you know, it's just like if somebody were to marry a child and you just could not even think of doing something that like that. If you're a man, could you marry a 5-year-old girl or a boy? Women, could you? You see what I'm saying? You know, but there's some, and you can't even think there, but there's people that do, and even younger than that if they can get them. Um, and what everything I'm saying is true, you know. Yeah, I have a feeling too that things are gonna get much worse before they get better. And if the internet were to go down and they want to force people into digital IDs to be able to function or get back on here, you'll never see me again because I'm not doing that. You are not going to force me to have a digital ID. I already have a social security number. You've got my number. You do that, you're going to see a whole different world. Yeah, yeah. There's going to be two different types of people. Them that do that, and then that won't. So, and that's where we'll have a big division on this planet at that time. So, and the ones that will do anything for themselves to make their world go around like that are going to be our opposition because we already know that they will do anything for themselves. That's not going to be nothing to do to help other people. They aren't going to be worrying about growing a garden or none of that. Not even close. You know, they're just worried about getting back on their TikTok or whatever. Anyway. So yeah, if that happens, I can say without a doubt, if they're not going to force me into any digital nothing, and that's the way that's going to go. They're not forcing me nothing, you know. And when my age of people are gone, or even younger, a little younger, that will not comply with their digital bullshit, I shudder to think what the world's going to be like for the younger people under all that control, where they're going to know exactly if you buy pink underwear or whatever and who you got it from, or if you bought it for your sister or whatever, you know. They're going to know if you sent it to her, you know. And yeah, there's more technology out there than what we're being told, that's for sure. It's without a doubt. It's like that Simon, that's really not his name. It's a little hard to get used to, but anyway, um, yeah. Anyway, so like he was saying, you know, he was thinking about something, a movie he had been watched or had watched before, and just with the thought of that, it wasn't much longer he had seen an advertisement for that very same movie he hasn't seen in like a decade or something. And there it was as an offer to rent it so he could see it, you know, that they took that thought right out of his mind. And I wouldn't doubt it. you know. Now me, I've had the experience where I was looking at wooden clogs shoes, and that was the first time I had seen that. Next thing I know, I'm being bombarded with these things from all over the place with offers, you know. It's like, yeah, okay. They do already, AI's got our number, you know, like that. So just you know, be aware that you are being encouraged to be quiet and be stoic about everything. So keep your mouth shut. Don't have any altercations with the nonsense and the insanity that's going on. Um, they want you to treat little people like they're adults and adults like they're little people, you know. No, not not happening in my world. No. And with that, with those thoughts of what they actually want to do with people in the future, um, that's where I can clearly say, I mean, I would fry along, but bring the fire, damn it, for real, you know, because I believe my soul's going to go on. Some people don't, and they're so worried about this material, but the spiritual is more important, and it is a spiritual war, you know. Not that I'd want innocent people to fry, because I'd be one of them, you know. But if it got rid of the monsters and they couldn't re-enter anybody's flesh ever again, because this is their last go around, I'm game, you know, because I know God will take care of us. So I'm not laughing at destruction like that, like at somebody's sorrow or pain or demise or anything like that. But if it would stop the wicked in the world and the things that people are actually doing to other people in the world, you know, because you know that I, I'm going to say it again. If you believe in war, that war could ever be a good thing, there's something drastically wrong inside you. I'm not just going to insult your mind, but there's some kind of human something in there that you don't possess. So it's just the way it is. It's not natural. And like right now, it's the Canaanite blood that's fighting. But they wanna involve more people in that. Let them fight their own stuff. And I'm a big believer, like if countries have an altercation like that, give them a representation of each of their countries, if not their own presidents or whatever, and put them in a caged ring and let these animals fight it out themselves. Just go for it. Why involve hundreds of thousands of men and women and children in somebody's? You're retarded. You're absolutely insane. Or, yeah. And these are the people, personally, maybe some of them, maybe that's the reason why they're like that. I was going to say maybe you need somebody to like cold cock you or something. Maybe you haven't had enough of that. If you're in a warring situation in your mind, maybe you need to experience that. Or maybe that's the reason why you're like that. I don't know. One of the two, something's got to solve it, you know. So, I mean, if I saw a bunch of evil people that were doing bad things to little kids and fire came out of the sky and started frying them up, yeah, it would save the baby's souls and they'd hurt for a second. But would I laugh? I would most likely, if they were running and getting scorched and hurt, and yeah, I'd probably laugh if I saw that. Like, whoa, God just got another one. Look, oh, and he tried to outrun it too. Yes, but he couldn't. Yeah, I'd be happy about it. So, I'm not talking normal human beings. I'm talking about evil, true evil that would have those types of thoughts about children or war or whatever your retarded stuff is. People have their own things, right? So some of us are kind of like we swear, you know, or we smoke, whatever. We got some major, major psychological issues going on with that. Yep. I'm out here, I'm harming everybody. Don't worry, I planted enough trees. I can take care of my own carbon footprint. And everybody else's in my neighborhood, too, with the amount that we've planted around here. So, yeah, no worries there. I just worry about the people that are telling everybody else to worry about their footprints. What kind of footprints are they leaving around the world with their greasy little hands and all that, I learned how to say greasy like that from my mother-in-law. She was Czechoslovakian, and the Slavic speaking nations have a extraordinary accent and language. They've got their own flippin' language, is what it is. English isn't actually English, it's something else. I don't know what it is, but it's different. The Poles, the Russians, Czechoslovakia or Slovakia, and Croatia, all these, they have their own kind of, well, there's other nations in there too with the Slavic, Hungarian, they all have their own kind of little funky language when they learn English, and then it turns into something that you'll never hear before or again, maybe, depending on the person. Wow, what a trip. Anyway. So, yeah, I don't know if you listened to that poem that I read the other day, but whoa, the one I read this morning is much different. You can see what I was saying, like, wow, this. And then I had remembered about halfway through that thing that I had read it probably, maybe 20 years ago, or maybe even a little longer than that. The internet was pretty new, and I was out there reading stuff and came across that. So it wasn't my first encounter with that really filthy 100-year-old one. So that just tells me back in the bathtub gin days, like when Chicago was just a mess with bootlegging and all that, like in the roaring 20s and that type of stuff, like the Bonnie and Clyde days, and heroin and all kinds of, people have been pretty filthy forever. It's just that nothing really has changed, you know. I won't say I was shocked, because look what, like with Pocahontas, she was 12 years old. They kidnapped her and took her to England. You know, just so happened that they say she fell in love with John Smith, and John Rolfe was involved with all that, from my understanding, but I have my doubts. I'm not so sure about that. I think if somebody had kidnapped me, it might take me a while, but it just would not sit right with me, and I can't see that I would be real peaceful about it. I mean, I think somewhere between here and there, I'd find a way to do something, because that's my nature. And most likely, she probably had somebody that she loved, like in her village, you know. Usually by the time you're about 12, you got a crush on a boy, or, you know. So she probably was pretty from being kidnapped and probably didn't take it very kindly. And that's in my blood. So I have this feeling that that's what my ancestor was feeling, and why I have my English blood in me. And I think there was more than one child. They say she had a son. But there's people that I've met from, not met, but online have encountered from England that they give me this feeling like there's some native blood in there, like that ethereal connection that ended up in Europe. And there's too, with the Phoenicians going back and forth in their slave trading and all the rest of stuff they did, even pre-Roman times, you know, that they're finding evidence of them from all over the world. You never know who's who and who got kidnapped or whatever, you know. I believe it's gone on more than we probably know. Because the first thing they do, try to kill all the men and either kill the women or children or take them. And that's been a traditional thing when wars happen, and how people get mixed. I think a lot of it never really was with the consent of a lot of people, you know. And that stays, you know, just think about that disdain. Even in your own blood, you got this feeling that's in there, you know. That reminds me of how they switch, like even the territory of calling Egypt Upper and Lower Egypt. Now, Upper Egypt is closer to Africa, and Lower Egypt is closer to the Middle East. So why would they call it? Do you see what I'm saying? Just in that alone, that's one weird thing. But the weirdest thing about it all is, and here's something I've been debating on. I heard like Robin's Hood channel share what Jonathan Kleck said about the pyramids not being our friend. Well, I do know that the monoliths and the ley lines and mind control and these types of things that they've used around the planet in sorcery forever, well, not forever, but thousands of years, it's a real thing, but I've been thinking about the original pyramids, and I don't feel like I'm threatened. Feel like it's not my friend. I feel just quite contrary on that. Like I get a feeling like this is something that I think we have an actual physical connection with the electronics of the planet through that thing, that maybe there's a bloodline connected with it that the other bloodlines can't access that power, and that's why it's been sitting dormant this whole time. I think it has something to do with the Christ blood. Am I alone on feeling that way? Does anybody else feel that way about that? Like there's something weird about it. It's eerie. It it's kind of that melancholy feel, like maybe associated with some kind of death thing, but not a tomb. They're just more of like a portal or a ship, or I'm thinking more on the terms of a ship, you know, that maybe only God can deal with. I don't know, but I don't feel threatened by it. And I'm really sensitive to just that type of thing. And I don't get that feeling on that. Now, there's weird things like what they call Serpent Mound in, I think it's in Ohio. I've been there. It's really weird, and I was thinking about it. I think that Serpent Mound, although it is shaped like a serpent, and from the air it looks like a snake, but I think, and I know they probably have magnetic imaged it and must know, but I had the feeling when I was there that I was walking on a path next to a burial mound, that it was one giant, because it goes around kind of, it's like a park, and it has like a ravine there, and it's like where we live, there's a hill in the back, and it's by the creek, and this hill could be a part of some of that type of thing, because they were known to build these burial mounds on like hills next to creek and that type of thing, where they would have their ceremonies when they buried their dead, and they would camp out there and mourn their dead and bury them at that time, you know. So I think I live by one of them, but walking on Serpent Mound made me feel like I was walking on dead people in a lot of places in my state. I used to go out squirrel hunting with my dad, and there were a lot of places way out in the country in different areas that I just felt that feeling about, you know. And so anyway, I get that type of feeling with the pyramid, just the thought of it. I don't feel threatened, but I do have a melancholy feel about it. Maybe somebody did die in there, maybe more than one somebody's, but there's, yeah, something eerie about it, but there's also something, I believe, what we would consider supernatural. It reminds me, I'm going to pull up, Doug's got a book on the pyramid. It's not a real big one. It's about this color right here, gold, and I'm going to pull it up someday and see if I can show you some pages in there and stuff. Not today, and I've been saying that, but I will do that one of these days before we get cut off, and I think. I mean, geez, if we have all this knowledge that we're learning out here on the internet, and then the internet gets shut down, who are you going to tell it to? Who's going to care, right? Can pass it on to our kids if they visit, if they're able to. It's a long way for my relatives to walk. Yeah. But, well, Doug just come in. There's a little bit of noise anyway. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to just touch on that. I feel like a lot of push with this stoicism stuff. Yeah, it's good to act stoic. It's good to keep your cool. It's good to have self-control in your mannerisms through life and whatever. But just kind of, it seems like there's one category of people on this planet that can cry their baby boo-hoos because they have mental issues. And if you're not insane like that and you have a voice against this type of thing, then you'll be labeled other things that, like, you're some kind, like you're not a nice person, or they would try and say like you would do something to somebody which you never would, and type. And I think we're being encouraged to keep our thoughts to ourselves, um, like you're stoic about it. And yeah, stoicism is a great thing. It's a good thing to learn, but I think it can get a little bit out of hand as far as not expressing your feelings and having more of a colder outlook towards everybody. That's my concern with the whole thing with that. So, and I think because we've seen so much of it out on the internet lately and the push for that, like sayings from Marcus Aurelius or whoever, that we're being encouraged to not be emotional beings, to be kind of like waxing our hearts cold and being more narcissistic. So, anyway, everybody, I love you. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to put that Simon Osiris's video on here. And, yeah, he's got a lot to share. So you wouldn't be unwise not to look into some of his information or to see what he's going to say next, because with a fresh mind and say like even a decade later or whatever, you never know. Not that the facts are going to change, but a person's outlook in different things, or what they might have learned or what they have new to share too. So, all right. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a good night or day wherever you're at.